Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request from Rapid Kirby 3K. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this time, it is for a commentary on The Core, 2003 film. Now, it's a pretty lengthy film. It's 2 hours and 14 minutes. So let's get started right away. Again, if anyone wants to request any other type of videos, links will be down below in the info box. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. And we have the Paramount logo coming up for syncing as the musical score is blaring. Now, The Core, this might have been a film I saw in theaters, because I did see a lot of films in theaters that year, which for me was a pretty good year for movies. You know, I enjoyed Bad Boys 2, I enjoyed the 2003 Hulk film, The Hunted with Tommy Lee Jones, and I do remember enjoying this film. Yes, if you're a scientist, I'm sure this film would make your head explode. But I guess the way I looked at this is kind of like how people looked at those films in the 1950s. You know, where they went to the Earth's core and they went to Mars, and none of it was scientifically accurate. But, you know, people had fun with those movies. Granted, I understand it's been many years later and people should know better, but at the same time, sometimes you want a big, fun, dumb movie. It may be dumb, but yeah, I remember having quite a bit of fun with this. I like the cast. You got Aaron Eckhart, who I really enjoyed in films like Battle of Los Angeles. You have Hilary Swank. Oh, this is his pacemaker. I remember that. The pacemaker's going all screwy. Which I remember thinking, I know a lot of people have pacemakers, but does this many people have pacemakers in this short block? Is like one out of 3 people have pacemakers? Just like that person has a pacemaker, then that person has a pacemaker. Maybe so, I don't know. And whoever crashed that car. I just maybe, actually, now that I think about it. That car crash, was it 2 people on the road at the same time at pacemakers, or did one have it and cause a crash? I just maybe that's not as ridiculous as I make it sound. Because, I don't know, maybe 5 of them or so, with that many people, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's more common than I think. But yeah. Here we're coming up with Aaron Eckhart as our teacher. And again, we got Hilary Swank, $1 Million Baby. What was the film she won an Oscar for? It was the one where she pretended to be a male, or like that was part of the story. I used to know the name of it. But anyway, Boys Don't Cry. That's what Boys Don't Cry. You also have Delroy Lindo, you have Stanley Tucci. And mixed with an entertaining concept, because so many things about the disaster era movies, it's about what's in space or your typical storms. So the fact that you have to go inside the Earth to the core just seemed much more of a unique take. At least one that had not been done for quite a few decades. I mean, you throw a rock, you'll find an alien invasion movie. Very, very rare you'll find a let's go to the Earth's core type of movie. So again, that made it seem a bit more, like I said, refreshing, unique, and different. Again, not since they made those type of films like the 50s. And I know a lot of people don't like disaster movies. I'm a sucker for them. Whether it be some films in the 70s, like The Towering Inferno. We have Tcheky Karyo here. One of those few times he plays a very nice guy. Very genuinely nice guy. Because usually he's cast as the bad guy, Tcheky Karyo. There on the right of Aaron Eckhart. He was the bad guy in the first Bad Boys film. He was the bad guy in the Jet Li film Kiss of the Dragon. Tease my ass. You know. And he's good as a bad guy, but it was nice to see him play a very different type of role, different type of character. And of course, I forget this guy's name, but he's been in a lot of stuff, this guy. Is it like Richard Jenkins? I think he was in The Shape of Water, I believe. Could be wrong, forgive me. Let me double check real quick. Yes, Richard Jenkins. And he was in The Shape of Water. Cool. Yeah, in The Shape of Water. Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, I think you would need more time than, what is it, a minute? Like, says we're done. Like, come on. Like, you're not going to talk to him for 30 seconds and be like, you're done. Come on now. Breathe a little bit easier. Looks like 50 people, or at least 30 people, mysteriously died of the same thing with a pacemaker, and you don't think there's anything to worry about? Where'd you get your job towel? The bottom of a cereal box? Like I said, I know scientists have completely lost their mind with the film. Maybe understandably, because they say it's like the most scientifically inaccurate movie of all time. That may be the case, but science I was never good at. Science was never my best class in school. It was honestly one of the least interesting classes in school, so the amount of knowledge I have, you can fit into a matchbox. So I'm fine with that. I guess you did glimpse that if they ever remake the birds, this is what it would look like. Which makes sense to be CGI birds, because how would you don't want to hurt them. But it's actually not that badly done. Like, they incorporate real ones in there, like on the messing with the driver of that vehicle. They get enough shots of real birds that they make it work. Granted, that guy, I'm sitting there going, it's a bird, just put on the brakes. Do the brakes not work on this bus? But I actually don't mind the way they filmed how the birds hit the window and stuff. They use some practicality to it. And some of those shots, like the effects aren't that bad for 2003. Doritos. Whether they were a sponsor of this film. Put a bag in it, you get all the Doritos you can. What was that magazine? Was it on the back there? I don't know why. It looked like Shadow Man in the video game, but I don't think it was. And I'm sure a lot of scientists just had a field day with Aaron Eckhart's character and how did he jump to these conclusions. I do like the film, but these are films I would like to hear like the writers talk about it, like the writer compared to the director, and like the writers talk about the criticisms of the film. Were they inherent in the script? Were they rewritten? Was it dumbed down to make it a faster pace? Was it dumbed down so that we could have less technobabble because the audience may not want to listen to a lot more technobabble? Is it, well, we finessed and we simple-minded this idea or this topic because we want to get from A to B quicker, or we want to take the more fun route? And that's the thing with a lot of movies is that, granted, if a movie's not entertaining, then I'll be much more critical. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm looking for entertainment one way or another. If it does make me think, if it does make me feel, that's an extra bonus. But at the end of the day, I watch a film to be entertained. And obviously a lot of people, they just were not entertained by the movie. But what I was getting at is, with a lot of scripts, I do think there are a lot of writers that do know that this doesn't make sense and that doesn't make sense and this isn't really how things work. But at the same time, it's like, okay, do I want to go in this direction because I do want to go the, oh, okay, this is the more scientific, but this is the more fun route. Okay, we do the more fun route. And I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Had to get something done real quick, but we're 11 minutes and 43 seconds in. Unpause now. And we're going to see Hilary Swank's character, who's later going to be the driver of Big Mission. But I was talking before about how I think there's a lot more writers that do know that the script's not the smartest, and they know the scripts have a lot of logical issues, but at the same time it's like, well, true, but we want to just tell a more fun story. Of course, people could say, well, can't you tell a fun story and still be more logical? Sure. But again, just the idea of going to the Earth's core is such a ridiculous idea in itself. And we know technically there would be no way to do that. So then the logical direction would be you don't do the movie at all. Because it's impossible regardless. There's no way you get to the Earth's core. There's no way you can have any plot involving the Earth's core. Unless it's just, we found out the core of the Earth stopping, and then you just have a 2-hour dissertation of people dying, or being afraid of dying, or preparing for the end of the world. And that kind of depressing, just be a very depressing movie. My point is that the entire, just the plot synopsis, you would not be able to do then. So then you go into, okay, do you just not do the movie at all? Or is that, you know what, we're just going to have a popcorn movie and, you know, people enjoy the effects, enjoy the set pieces, enjoy the actors. There's, I think, Alfre Woodard, which I remember her from Star Trek First Contact, teaming up with Captain Jean-Luc Picard. I think the other guy, I think his name is Bruce Greenwood, which he's been in a lot of stuff. I know he was John F. Kennedy in this film called 13 Days with Kevin Costner. He's the guy that's popped up quite a few times, Bruce Greenwood. Where you see, you go, oh, it's that guy. Yeah, not many times you see a space shuttle hovering over a baseball stadium. He says they're theoretically possible, but then I swear on the screen it says fail scenario, as in this will fail. Yeah, Hillary's like, if you do your job right, we'll make it. And that's for me. I remember seeing the film back in the day, and I did see this in the theater because I remember sitting there going, okay, like the pacing for a movie that's over 2 hours, it didn't feel like a slog. It didn't feel like it was slow. It's like, okay, we have the weird stuff with the pacemakers, and then we have the birds. Then we have this thing with the shuttle. And of course, a lot of times these actors, like, they'll win an Oscar, or they'll do like a small film, right? They'll do this small indie film, and they'll get noticed a bit. And then the next thing you know, you see them in a couple big budget movies that a lot of times don't do well. But you have people like, hey, this is my 15 minutes of fame. I want to snag it as best as possible and hope that the film I'm doing becomes this box office hit. Like John Heater did Napoleon Dynamite, but then soon after you would see him in The Benchwarmers and was it School for Scoundrels, was it? The one he did with Billy Bob Thornton. Can't remember the name of it. So there's the film he did with Billy Bob Thornton. Blaze of Glory was a decent sized hit. But yeah, you had The Benchwarmers. Hilary Swank. You had this film. You had The Reaping, about the biblical plagues. You had that one. It was about a school. She was like a teacher. It felt like kind of a much lesser version, like Dangerous Minds or something. I forget what it was called. I just knew she was a teacher trying to help kids. I forget what it was, though. But I thought that was kind of a fun scene, kind of an interesting scene that you don't see every day. And that's the thing, like, one of the things I appreciate about the film is that they feature scenes you didn't see in every other blockbuster. Okay, yeah, space shuttle having to land in this narrow... It's not a tunnel, but a narrow field. Narrow space, I should say. I mean, the birds attacking, you have the electrical storms and the way those electrical storms are shown. Again, when they go into the center of the earth and all the obstacles they go through. Like I say, it just felt... like the Day After Tomorrow and 2012, they could seem similar. Granted, Day After Tomorrow is a lot more cold and snow, but... I don't know, like I said, I like the change of pace, if that made sense. And that's another thing, like I mentioned before, I like about the movie is I like the cast of characters. Like, I like the actors. I like Aaron Eckhart. I think he's a good lead. I thought he was really good in Battle Los Angeles. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoy that film. Of course, people remember him the most as Two-Face in The Dark Knight. But I thought Aaron Eckhart was likable enough. Stanley Tucci, I thought I had some fun lines. His last line, like before his character dies, where he's like tape recording himself, and he's like, "What the hell am I doing?" As in, no one's gonna listen to this. I thought, like, for a way for someone to hit the bucket, I thought that was kind of a memorable way to do it, with a sense of humor. Hilary Swank, Oscar-winning actress, capable actress. Of course, before all that, she was in the fourth Karate Kid film, The Next Karate Kid. And one of the few only people they didn't bring back for that Cobra Kai TV show. Which I'm a bit surprised, because I'm sure they've asked her and stuff. I mean, they brought back people from Part 3. And I like the fourth one more than the third one. I'll say it again. The fourth one I like more than the third one, because the third one I think is the worst. But yeah, Hilary Swank is a capable actress. But I would say that after, I would say the Clint Eastwood one, Million Dollar Baby. I'm not sure really she really found as much notable success afterward. I did Delroy Lindo. He's a lot of fun. He hasn't popped up yet, but Delroy Lindo, he was in a bunch of stuff. He was in Gone in 60 Seconds. There's a ton of stuff. Delroy Lindo. Ransom. I would say that's one of the big films he was in. Ransom. He was a police officer trying to help Mel Gibson. Like I said, Tcheky Karyo. It was so interesting to see him in this, because I had seen him as these villains, these hateful villains, and Bad Boys and Kiss of the Dragon. So to see him, yeah, he can play a nice, likable guy. Now, granted, as soon as he talked about his kids, and he showed like and he joined the mission, you kind of knew he was going to die. He's not the star of the film, and usually 2, maybe 3 people survive, it seems like, in this type of scenario. We have no sense of humor, of course, and we're armed. But again, that kind of like little bits of levity, I miss in these type of films back in the day. Like these type of disaster movies, like this one, like Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones. Yes, even Armageddon, where yes they're ridiculous. Yes, the premise is ridiculous. Armageddon, I go back and forth on. There's aspects I like about the film. There's aspects I don't like about the film. I go back and forth on that. I don't hate Armageddon, but again, Steve Buscemi's character gets really annoying for me. I get why, but they did it, but I don't like that Bruce Willis dies at the end. I get why they did it, though. I do get it, though. Sometimes when they're on the asteroid, it seems like a big clutter, or they don't really. At the end of the day, it's still them just drilling a hole, and it's like Michael Bay tries to make that as exciting as it can, but it's still them having to drill a hole, and then it gets busted, and then you gotta drill more and drill more. there's always so much you could do to make that exciting for your third act. Yeah, I know scientists had a field day with this scene, with the way he's explaining the core, like all this other stuff. I keep saying that because I would read these articles, but if detail-wise, what they had a problem with, I couldn't tell you. So I'm not even going to attempt to try. Of course, we come to find out later on the core of the Earth has stopped spinning. And we come to find out it was this weapon called Destiny. We find that out later, though. And he gets the low flamethrower. Well, I mean, it's a good way to showcase it. I mean, right, I mean, I don't think you need the demonstration. I think that you get the idea. But I guess if you want to sell them in on it, put the couple exclamation points on it, that's the way to do it. Yep. So get your marshmallows. Just gonna be the roast of the millennium. How do we fix it? We can't. That's not my vocabulary. Then get one of those little, day-to-day, word-to-word things. And that's how he puts it. Space is easy. It's open space, like there's nothing there. But like, there's so much dirt and there's so much ground and there's so much stuff in the way. And this is where we're going to introduce the Delroy Lindo's character. I mean, I'm sorry I don't have a lot of in-depth things to say, because this is one of those films that kind of, it is what it is. It's just, yes, it's dumb, but it's just a fun popcorn movie with a group of characters that have certain personalities get together, and to me, just a fun time. And they definitely had a budget, they definitely had a scale to it all. Why the hell aren't you dead yet? I'm looking up some info on the film here. In the film, we stated that the deepest hole ever dug was 7 miles deep. This is an actual fact. The shaft in question is the Kola Super Deep Borehole, a Russian project. At the University of British Columbia, Canada, an Earth and Ocean Science course uses this film as a learning tool by showing the film to students and then analyzing the bad science behind it. Oh yeah, one of the things in this is unobtainium, which I find funny because it's later used in Avatar, unobtainium, for this rare substance. And this is the thing here where they show it. Roger Ebert says, I have such an unreasonable affection for this movie, indeed, that it is only by slapping myself alongside the head and drinking black coffee that I can restrain myself from recommending it. It is only a notch down from Congo, Anaconda, and Tomb Raider, 2001, and other films which those with too little taste think they have too much taste to enjoy. Because those are all films he enjoyed as well. See, at least in that, it's like they almost smile as it, like, at least they explain, like, the technical name is, like, too long and it's too many syllables. I call it unobtainium. And then you see Aaron Eckhart go, unobtainium. And he's, like, smiling. So at least they kind of know a little bit in on the joke of it. Aaron Eckhart claims that this was after 9/11, so he wanted a good paycheck during an uncertain time in the world. Well, there you go. Take a check. So it was originally going to come out in November 2002, but the visual effects weren't done yet, so they wanted to perfect the CG. This is Peter Hyams at one point was going to direct the film. Here we're going to have our hacker, which I'll get to him in a few minutes, but here's what it says here. Multiple scientists have taken issue with a number of plot elements. Here we go. Earth's atmosphere will not disappear within a year after the core stops rotating. Small EMP device cannot stop the core's rotation. No more than a fan can dissolve a thunderstorm. Birds can also migrate without Earth's magnetic field. Sending messages from the Earth's core to the surface would be impossible since the signal would have to penetrate 4,000 miles of rock. The magnetic field would disappear everywhere at equal rate, so there wouldn't be holes without magnetism at certain points. Earth's magnetic field dissipating would not cause solar microwave radiation strong enough to melt the Golden Gate Bridge, because the rest of the atmosphere still provides protection. Even if it could, it would melt cars long before it would melt the bridge. Cavities in intact amethyst crystals 1,000 miles below the surface would be impossible, as the intense pressure there would crush both. And diamonds cannot be there since there is no carbon in Earth's mantle. People can walk around a few minutes in a 9,000 Fahrenheit environment, they would instantly burn to a crisp. No ship can convert heat into energy to propel itself away from a nuclear blast. There's no space between two tectonic plates to escape through near Hawaii, as the island is situated in the middle of a plate, not on the edge. So that's only a few that scientific inaccuracies. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue that. Now, this is directed by Jon Amiel, who did Copycat with Sigourney Weaver and Holly Hunter. And let's see, what else did he do afterward? He did a film in 2009 called Creation with Paul Bettany. Oh wow, he did The Man Who Knew Too Little with Bill Murray. That's a very different movie for him. And Entrapment with Sean Connery. Now this guy here, his name is DJ Qualls. I know in the trailer he had a different line. He said he wanted like Star Trek tapes, but I just hear they changed it to Xena tapes. Now DJ Qualls, he was in Road Trip. I think that's where people first saw him. He was in The New Guy. Then another guy that like got his 15 minutes of fame after Road Trip. So he got, again, he was the star of the film The New Guy. He was in this film. He was in Hustle and Flow. He was in Delta Farce with some of the guys from like Larry the Cable Guy and Bill Engvall. And he still works. He was in Road Trip, Beer Pong, All About Steve. I think that's the one with Sandra Bullock. Pawn Shop Chronicles. But I mean, nothing that really a lot of people would know about. Also did a lot of TV work. He was in an episode of Creep Show 2019. A few episodes of Fargo. He was a series regular on the TV show Z Nation. So there you go. So let's go into the cast. I mentioned Aaron Eckhart. He was a prisoner in Hot Shots Part 2. I have to pay attention to that next time I see it. Thursday I Liked with him and Thomas Jane. Any Given Sunday. He was worked in with, I think it was James Woods' character. Checked on the health of the team. Love that. That's my favorite football movie. Aaron Brockovich he was in. The Pledge with Jack Nicholson he was in. This movie. Paycheck the same year, which is another film that's very much hated but I enjoy. Suspect Zero, which I got the Blu-ray of. I think that's an underrated one. Thank You for Smoking. That's a good performance from him. Two-Face in the Dark Knight. Battle Los Angeles, which I love. He was the president in Olympus Has Fallen and London Has Fallen. He's done a few other films that are kind of more... Well, actually, I've heard of, like Line of Duty I'd heard of. Wander I'd heard of. Muzzle with him and a dog. I think it's like a... Well, actually, I don't know what it is. I have to look at it. The Bricklayer, I know that came out recently, directed by Rennie Harlan. I haven't seen that one yet. I think he's doing another film, Rennie Harlan. I think it's like a Killer Shark movie, so that's cool. Aaron Eckhart teaming up with Rennie Harlan, who is doing another shark movie because I love Deep Blue Sea. And it's funny, anytime I see Aaron Eckhart, I always think of Thomas Jane as if they'd be brothers. And they both start on Thursday. So, I'm curious about that one. Deep Water, I think it's called. Granted, it could be kind of a generic title, but... So, Hilary Swank there. She was in the 1992 Buffy the Vampire Slayer, then the next Karate Kid. Sometimes They Come Back Again. That was the second one with Michael Gross from Tremors as the lead. Boys Don't Cry in 1999. That's where she got a lot of the accolades. After that, she was in The Gift, the Sam Raimi film. Insomnia with Al Pacino. This film, Million Dollar Baby, 2004. And then after that, The Reaping. Freedom Riders, that was the one I was talking about her being the teacher. Freedom Riders. She was in The Resident. She was in Load and Lucky. Oh, she was in The Hunt. That's right. I forgot about that. I actually didn't mind that film. That's right, she was in The Hunt. And damn it, I lost track. 1 second. And on film, they're building the big old ship to get to the inner core. So she was in a film called Fatale, which I don't know much about. Ordinary Angels, a faith-based drama. Okay. That's for me, like, I remember seeing The Hunt, but like none of these films really have much of a mainstream recognizability for a lot of people out there. I guess she was on this show called Alaska Daily about a journalist, a crime drama. Didn't last long, it lasted only 11 episodes. So that guy we just saw, Bruce Greenwood, who plays the commander of the mission. He was a National Guardsman in First Blood. Wow. Passenger 57, I forgot he was in that. Yeah, Father's Day, that's right, he was in Father's Day. He was the guy who was with the girl, and the girl said she used to be with Billy Crystal and Ron Williams, and she asked them to find the son. Disturbing Behavior, he played the evil doctor. Double Jeopardy, he played the bad guy in that, who Ashley Judd wants to get revenge on because he framed her and screwed her over. Rules of Engagement, he played a prickly guy. Yeah, 13 Days, President John F. Kennedy, The Core. Hollywood Homicide, that's another film I do enjoy, came out 2003. He played a cop in that. I, Robot, he was the guy, the head of the company, doing with the artificial intelligence robots there. He was an FBI agent in Deja Vu, Denzel Washington film. He most famous, I think a lot of people recognize, he was Captain Pike in the 2009 Star Trek. He was the voice of Batman in Batman Under the Red Hood, which is a very entertaining animated film. One of the better Batman animated films, in my opinion. He's done a lot of stuff. He was the president in Kingsman: The Golden Circle. He was Gerald in Gerald's Game, which I didn't mind that film, directed by Mike Flanagan. Oh, he voiced Batman again in Death in the Family. Cool. Then I don't think I saw. Yeah, I never saw that one. And he did a lot of TV work. Now that bit there, I enjoy where Tcheky Karyo's kind of laughing. We're all gonna die during the whole training bits. Like I said, I like that the Karyos at least have a bit of likability and personality to them. Let's get into Delroy Lindo here. He was the captain, the hard way, who you tell was a big fan of Michael J. Fox's character, who was an actor, teamed up with the top James Woods. The Hard Way is a very fun film. He was in Malcolm X, Crooklyn, Clockers. Oh, of course, Congo. How could I forget? Mr. Hamaka, will you stop eating my sesame cake? Will you stop eating my sesame cake? That was Delroy Lindo. Ransom, Broken Arrow, all, films I enjoy. I forgot he had a bit role in The Devil's Advocate. Gone 60 Seconds, he was a cop. Romeo Must Die. I think he played Aaliyah's dad in that. Heist, I think that was with Gene Hackman. Let's see. He was in the remake of Point Break. Oh, wow. Defy Bloods. Let's see. And from 2010 to now, like 14 years, he hasn't done a whole lot. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 movies. The Big Bane, which I don't know what that is. Something with Antonio Banderas, which I never heard of. Cymbeline, Ethan Hawke, which I never heard of. And he's not even on the poster. Do You Believe? Christian drama with Mira Sorvino and Sean Astin. Battle Creek, romantic drama, he has a bit role in. Malicious. Defy Bloods, that was the Spike Lee film. The Harder They Fall. This was a Western. And done some TV work. Not a whole lot. In the 2000 to now, he only did like 3 things on TV. The tour began development in the late 90s under producer David Foster for Paramount Pictures and was one of several Journey of the Center of the Earth inspired projects in development at the time, along with Inner Earth at 20th Century Fox and a straight adaptation of the novel at Walt Disney Pictures. So a group of people, multiple people want to make this type of movie. Initially, Peter Hyams was announced to be in final negotiations to direct, but in September 2001, it was announced Jon Amiel had signed on to direct. Aaron Eckhart signed on. Hilary Swank joined. The original plan for the shuttle landing scene was for it to attempt a landing at the LA International Airport with the shuttle coming to a halt on the nearby beaches. Due to the events of September 11th, the crew was not allowed to film at LAX, so there was rerun for Endeavour to land in the LA River, which it did. Of course, it got a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. I do like a B movie with its tongue planted firmly in cheek. And I do agree with that. Now, I guess the budget was around $85 million. It only made $31 million in the U.S. It made $43 million overseas, so it only made $74 million. And your budget's $85 million. That's not accounting for marketing. So this was a big bomb. This was a huge bomb. In response to criticism of his screenplay's lack of scientific realism, the screenwriter John Rogers responded that he tried to make the science accurate but expended 3 years fighting to get rid of the dinosaurs, mammoth walks, and spacesuits, BS side crap sources for the Earth's crisis, and a windshield for the ship Virgil. The tour did not make money because people understood the science was so out to lunch. Well, that's BS. If that's the case, Armageddon would have lost money. Like, give me a break. It wasn't because of that. It was probably because they saw and they went, well, I don't know any of the actors, uh, so it's not really based on star power. The release date, it wasn't released in the summer. Usually people go see these films out in the summer. And maybe the premise itself, like, even if it was scientifically accurate, the premise itself might have been like, I don't want to check it out. I'm not interested. But you saw the electrical storms there blowing everything away. Maybe not the most top-notch special effects, but kind of entertaining the B-movie way. There's our crew of 5. No, 6, right? I can't remember. Is Aaron Eckhart, Hilary Swank, the Commander, Delroy Lindo, Stanley Tucci, and Tcheky Karyo. So yeah. But of course, that's the other thing, is that on the one hand, actors take these projects because it's a big budget movie, so that means you're going to get a good paycheck. Also, even if it's a flop, people will see it because they'll hear about it, they'll rent it on DVD, they'll see it later on cable, because these are the films that are going to play a bit more on cable, especially back in the day. It's going to get a bit more push into marketing, posters, advertising, trailers, TV spots. So it's like, hey, I exist. And even if you don't like the film, I hope you like me. So it's like, well, even if you don't, well, maybe you like him or you like that person, so you go and see them in other movies. But yeah, I can see what Roger Ebert and other, folks who did like the film, I can see what they mean. And that's why Roger Ebert, I may not always agree with him on stuff. May he rest in peace. I mean, Aliens. I think he did give it. I forget who gave it a thumbs up. Siskel or Ebert. I want to say Ebert did. But like criticisms like Die Hard and other films, like, oh, come on now, man. Like, you have criticisms of Die Hard because of the other cops, but then you give thumbs up to Die Hard 2. No, it's the Speed 2 Cruise Control, but not Die Hard 1. Like, come on now. But there's some, like, oh wow. It seemed like he didn't mind Leviathan. He gave it a thumbs up. He gave a thumbs up to The Golden Child. Gave a thumbs up to films like Congo, this movie, stuff like that. So sometimes when the mood hits, it seems like he was a little bit more willing to have fun with the movie, as long as it wasn't a slasher movie or Die Hard, I guess. It makes sense that they would start in the ocean because it's a lot more easier to navigate through before you get to the earth. and start your journey. Dre, you think of like how many miles that is, just how long that would take, just time-wise, to get from here to the middle of the earth. It's like driving from here to China. Like, how long would that take? How many days? How many, you know? Take a long ass time. So you know how fast this thing is really going. Of course, this thing with the sea animals, they show that here to reference that at the end to kind of help find. In DJ Qualls, they made sure they have him looking at this and pay attention to this so that the singing to them part will be utilized much later. So DJ Qualls realizes that and goes, well, wait a minute. They're still alive, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I guess that writer's like, yeah, I tried to be accurate, but then all the strips get changed, rewritten. Can you change it to this? Well, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, but it'll work better, or it'll be more mainstream, it'll be more faster. Faster to get from A to B. We want the big spectacle. We want the big spectacle set pieces. How do we create them? Well, it's going to be illogical, but let's say if the actual idea would not be made, like, if you want to be scientifically accurate, you don't make the movie at all. Just the movie, by logic standards, the movie would not exist at all. But if you accept that this is just, you know, sci-fi hokum, I think it's actually a fun time. I mean, think about it, like, people watch slasher films and they're not realistic. People do stupid decisions all the time, and you know, there are slasher films you like, there are slasher films you hate. Just like disaster films. There's ones that you like, there's ones you hate. It's all in the eye of the beholder. Sorry, nose itching. Talk about a close call. And we haven't even started yet. Yeah, I think Christopher Young did the score for this, and Christopher, I think he worked with this director on Copycat before this. And then Christopher Young, he did scores for Hellraiser, Hellbound Hellraiser 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, The Fly 2. Then, you know, got a bit more high profile projects. I think he did, was it Spider-Man 3 he did? Something like that. I mean, think about like all the other films, like back to the day, like shrinking people to inject them to the bloodstream of an individual. Or again, we'd go to Mars and, oh, what's on Mars? All these beautiful women. Well, we went to the planet Venus and we landed, and so I guess that's the way I look as in that viewpoint. I mean, you can make the argument there's never really been, okay, very rarely has there ever been, very rarely there's been a disaster movie that's been scientifically accurate. Damn, 12 hours in? Shit. Yeah, I think for 12 hours, like, I would assume there's a bathroom. Do they just... Yeah, they're walking around, so I would assume there's just a bathroom and such in there. So for sleep, do they take turns sleeping? Like, Hilary Swank's asleep, and then Bruce Greenwood drives, and then they switch out? I mean, Bruce Greenwood and everyone looks pretty peachy for not having, being away for 12 hours, plus however long. Unless did they just wake up and then go do the mission? You would hope that'd be the case. I mean, if they've been up for like 5 hours, that means you've been up for 17 hours. That means you'd be pretty sleepy and groggy. I don't know, do they ever seem sleepy or groggy throughout the film? I have to pay attention to that. All the way through empty space. There's this valley of crystals that again they're like, what the hell? This isn't in the Earth's core. Of course, where are these people complaining about, I don't know, Godzilla vs. Kong and the new empire where there's a whole civilization in the Earth? Well, that film wasn't meant to be realistic. Was this film meant to be realistic, or was it meant to be a fun popcorn ride? I mean, I don't know, like, this was meant to be, this real dissertation about what will happen if the Earth stops spinning, or whatever the hell it is. I just, why is it that people will give leeway to Godzilla vs. Kong and how, at those two films, how none of that made sense? Or Fast and Furious, and how none of those films made sense. But then this film is such horrible and terrible in terms of science. I mean, again, So the signs of Godzilla vs. Kong and all that stuff. But it's about big monsters fighting, so you shouldn't look into it. Well, this is about going to the core of the Earth. You think that's a fucking realistic adventure? If you're watching a movie about people going to the core of the Earth and you're expecting realism, I don't know. Like, that's when people get mad at me. You're expecting realism or Godzilla fighting Kong? So again, I'm saying, you're expecting realism and going to the core of the Earth? So they try to explain, like, the reason they could go outside is because this liquid nitrogen thing. Granted, I mean, it's all hokum. So again, the reason is that he released this liquid nitrogen, whatever type thing, so that's how these foes can walk around for a little bit. I do like this image. Again, as he said, like a crystal Grand Canyon. I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool. That looks a bit different, bit unique. The thing I always remember, I think it being a little bit, is the bit of like lava coming out, and it gets the guy right in the top of the head. So the idea of just this thing just melting right through your head, and sitting there in the middle of your head, just melting your brain. Just the idea, the image, like, for some reason, just like, and you don't even have to see any blood, gore. Just the idea, the intention, like, yeah, this stuff here. There she blows. Damn crystals everywhere. Get the hell out of Dodge. Run. Yeah, this is where Bruce Greenwood is not going to make it. I guess it's like, hey, Aaron Eckhart is a star. You gotta give him some stuff to do. So here, trying to help Delroy Lindo, give him a little bit of something to do. Up. So here you go. Hero thing to do. Why not? Graham, I'm kind of sitting there going, why don't you tell people, hey, I need to give my oxygen to this guy. Can someone get out there and help me? Give me some spare oxygen. I mean, you have your lead characters show an act of nobility, act of sacrifice, an act of There you go. And Tcheky Karyo coming in to help his friend out. Yeah, this is where Bruce Greenwood was not going to make it. You now run back in. It's going to be too late. Ooh, right then and there. I thought Hilary Swank played this very subtle as well. Like this slow realization. Ooh. Because that's tough to play. Like, you gotta play sadness, horror, but you can't be too over the top. But you gotta show emotion. I thought Hilary Swank played that as well as you can for that type of scene. Because again, if you're yelling and screaming, you're over the top and people laugh. If you're nothing at all, then people think you're a blank slate. So I think, like, that's good acting there. I gotta be subtle enough where I'm not freaking out everywhere, but at the same time I'm showing remorse and emotion. And it's like we don't have time to pontificate the death of someone for, in reality, you'd be, think about it for days, let alone hours, let alone whatever, but just the frame of mind is that you'll grieve later, let's survive now. But yeah, I thought Hilary Swank played that as well as, again, good. She's a good actress. I always liked her as an actress. Listen, Sally, some of the films she did, like The Reaping, which wasn't a good film, not because of her. Like, that didn't do well. That, I already forgot the name of it. That teacher one didn't do well. And then there were 5. See, moments like this, which I think, is tough to do in these kind of films, where you got the plot's gotta be moving forward, and again, it's not gonna be a drama where you can take 20 minutes on this. And then, Aaron Eckhart, Hilary Swank, they played these scenes well to show that bit of humanity. And, I like that little speech. Tcheky Karyo saying, I mean, saving the world and to save billions, that's overwhelming. So I just look at it as I'm saving my wife and kids. And I hope I'm brave and smart enough to save 3. To try to put in a smaller perspective so that, overwhelmed. But yeah, look at disaster films like throughout the years. I mean, they were very popular in the 70s, thanks to films like The Poseidon Adventure and The Talent Inferno, and then you had a ton of them where it seemed like every other actor wanted to be... Well, Airport. Airport was a big one as well. Airport, the Poseidon Adventure, the Tower Inferno. So then you just like, oh, we have the sequel to the Poseidon Adventure. We have When Time Ran Out. I think, wasn't that the one with Paul Newman and, well, as well as Tower Inferno. Like, then it became a thing where let's do a disaster film, and then we get as many stars as we can to put into it. But then they started to fizzle out the box office, and that kind of went away. You had Airport sequel after sequel. You had the one where it's underwater and it stars Jack Lemmon. You had the one that starred Charlton Heston. I think there were 4. What, Airport 75, 77, and 79. Airport 77 was the one underwater with Jack Lemmon. 75 was the one with Charlton Heston. Diamonds. So the diamonds things, yeah. Scientists had a field day with that as well. Oh yeah, and this is where Tcheky Karyo is going to get killed off. Yeah. Because we gotta knock them off one by one. We can't have all of them survive. And, I mean, if you have all of them die, that'd be a different type of movie, so. Although a good chunk of people in Armageddon survived, when you look at it. Including Steve Buscemi. I think his character should have died off in Armageddon. I do think that. But yeah, the 70s, like, they died out because the box office sizzled for them. Like, Beyond the Poseidon Adventure with Michael Caine. Also Michael Caine, The Swarm, which I like The Swarm. I actually think that's a fun one about the killer bees. Jared Goldsmith did the music. But that was laughed upon and belittled and goofed on. I can't believe they forgot this to begin with. Right, I mean, it's hectic, but in the fact that they forgot all of this. You know, here's the thing, though. If he didn't worry about his notebook, he probably would have made it. That's the thing. Like, if he didn't go back for his notes, his notepad, he probably would have made it. Because he fumbled for like 10, 15 seconds on that. He would have made it, so don't worry about your damn notepad. Then there's another scene I do like, Aaron Eckhart. I keep wanting to say Aaron Stanford. That's a different actor, Aaron Eckhart. Because then you have to be afraid, you have to be scared, you have to be filled with anxiety. But if you go too over the top, people will laugh. It's definitely a death I do feel bad for. And this decision of, if you do this, it'll jeopardize everything, it'll kill us all, and think of all the billions. Well, as she puts it, not the world, to save 3. And I really feel bad because, like Tcheky Karyo's character doesn't seem like he can hear. And you just see they stared. And Delroy Lindo's trying, but I like Delroy Lindo's reaction. Like, he's trying, but he knows he's going to fail, and just this tearing up and sadness of that just makes the whole scene a bit more tragic. So I feel bad when he dies. Because he's a good guy, he's a decent guy, he helped save. See, that bit with Delroy Lindo I thought was nice too. And I thought Aaron Eckhart played it as well as someone can. And I think the acting they did as well as they can with that type of scene, and it made me feel bad. I felt bad for that character dying because he meant well, he was nice, he was generous, he was jovial, you know, the way it was intended. But again, as soon as you know, like, he's going to do it for his kids, like, you knew he was going to die. Call it manipulation, call emotional manipulation, call it whatever you want, but it's like, you kind of know. Of course, they're going to get pissed, and it's understandable, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason she had to do that. Granted, Stanley Tucci could have been help. He's the one who told her, so you could, like, help her. Like, stick up for her. Instead of let her take the whole fall. Of course, Tucci being keeping his damn mouth shut. He's not even in the scene. Like, he's sitting far away. The camera doesn't even cut to him. Oh, now Tucci's there. And at the end of the day, Sally, I mean, she made the right decision as much as you're pissed off about it. I see you're not saying anything Stanley Tucci. You're not saying Jat Squad. Yeah, I didn't realize, like, they heard the whole thing. I was like, wow, yeah, they've been listening the whole time. And you notice, like, DJ Qualls, like, he doesn't have a whole lot to do in this film. Like, you don't really see what all he does, truly. He's just kind of sitting there. At this point, does he really have anything to do? Because not that they're in the core, like, they're in the Earth. It's not like anyone will find out what's going on, so I guess what I'm saying is you could easily have taken DJ Qualls' character out of the movie. It would not have done anything. I mean, literally, you build in secret, you go to a remote place, you release it. The rest of it, they're in the Earth, so it's not like someone could, oh, I see it over there. No, it's in the Earth, so you really did need DJ Qualls' character. I guess other than later on, to be fair, now that I think about it, there is a reason they have the character in here. I just remembered for later on with the Destiny weapon, where they want to use it again, and it's like, no, you can't do that, so then DJ Qualls helps stop that. So that's why the character's in there. Yeah, he's doing nothing, but he's going to be essential later on. Not just in finding them and getting them help, but and all that stuff too. Oh, this is when they find out they don't have enough. That won't be enough to do anything. And that's where we're getting the Destiny thing. Of course, it's gotta be the red phone, like Batman. It's always the red phone. Never touch the red phone. It's only for emergencies. I'm not sure about this haircut with Alfre Woodard. It's probably the ugliest hair she's had in a movie. She looked a lot better in Star Trek First Contact. So, weapon that makes earthquakes. I mean, you looked at this on the strip and you go, really, guys? Like a weapon that makes earthquakes? That's where you kind of sit there and go, okay, what kind of movie are we making? Are we making just a fun B movie? And there's hundreds of B movies that you know doesn't make sense, but you either go along with the ride or you don't. I categorize this as one of them. Sorry, I'm listening to the dialogue. Sorry. That's why I'm not saying anything. I love Tucci's just energy and animosity. He knocked the mob. Is like, it's not a stupid ship. See, that's what I mean. It's moments like those that make me like a film like this. You know, it's not a stupid ship. And there's another thing that, yeah, scientists were talking about how there would not be holes, it would all be done at the same time. But it's like, we gotta have a scene where we have another piece of destruction. So, the really, like, I could see the producers, the studio heads going, we need moments for the trailer. We need big destructive moments. Because by this point, if you include alien invasion films, we had Independence Day, we have Deep Impact, we have Armageddon, you have Volcano, Dante's Peak. Like, we need these big trailer moments. So, we have the Coliseum, and the stuff with the birds. How about with the date? Okay, the date. What do we do with the date? Well, how about it melt? It melt, okay. We have this scene here. How does it work? You figure it out. It's the sun, beam, melt. And yeah, why is it not melting the cars, but it's melting the bridge? It's a good point. Ooh, that guy does it. I like the effects, the models, the using practical, as much practical as they can. And then the wide shots there. Imagine being one of those poor sons bitches. Ah, man, imagine being them. Poor sons of beaches. It was like, well, it's another reason not to live in San Francisco. I don't know, I've never been to San Francisco. Power grid is going crazy. Sure it's not Texas. The power grid always goes crazy in Texas. Here they're more gun-ho to do Destiny. This is where DJ Qualls comes more into play here. And this is where DJ Qualls comes into the importance of the story. Find Destiny, slow it down. You finally gave him something to do. But I might actually see why a younger actor would take a role like this, because, okay, I get to be in a big blockbuster movie. I just did these smaller films like Road Trip and what was the other movie I mentioned? The New Guy. So I get to be part of this ensemble, and it didn't seem like a whole lot of dialogue I need to memorize, and for the most part I'm sitting at a desk and pretending like I'm typing. Doesn't sound like a bad gig. Probably got paid, he was, I think, decently well. How's it going to? You gotta knock the hell out. So I gotta figure out what the hell to do. I'm glad they didn't do this whole thing, because it could have been where one of them becomes a bad guy and he's the human villain, and then he turns on the crew and starts wanting to poison them or screw them over or hit a gun and has them at gunpoint. They could have gone that way too, because there are some disaster movies where they go in that direction where again, they really haven't shown a whole lot of effects of grogginess and sleep deprived. Well, I mean, Tucci would make sense. He got knocked out, so he got his Z's. How are the news? Pretty much. Again, sorry I'm not talking. I mean, sometimes it's hard for me to say, you know, what to say. I don't know, sometimes it's hard for me to know what to say during some of these commentaries. Because obviously I didn't make the film. There's no one here to bounce off stuff. Like, how did you see the film and what do you think about it, and have conversations or and stuff about it. I like the film, so I'm not going to make. I mean, I know it doesn't. It's scientifically inaccurate to the 10th bar, I know, but I still think it's a fun, it's escapist entertainment. So I'm not going to be like making fun of it because I actually liked the film. So, man, these old computers were very different back in 2003. Shows how 20, 21 years things change. I mean, DJ Qualls have barely known these people, but I guess just the idea of him failing and stuff, and maybe like putting his trust in these guys. Like, these guys seem to know what they're doing. So if I don't do this, technically the whole world is on you, dude. If they fire that, it's gonna give this whole Earth a heart attack, flatline for good. You need to do better. Stop watching your Xenotapes. So, one of them's going to die is 9,000 degrees. And again, as people say, if it's 9,000 degrees, as soon as you go in there, you're a crispy critter. You're a baked potato. You're a marshmallow on fire. Now, who gets the short end of the stick? Delroy Lindo sells this. He absolutely sells his character. How he's been obsessed with this for 20 years. He's able to finally see it get built. I do, I do not want to see this thing fail. If it needs blood, then it will have my blood. Like, Delroy really sells this. And again, I feel bad when the people die in this movie. I felt bad when Tcheky Karyo died. I feel bad for Delroy Lindo, and I'm like, oh no, I want him to live. Even with Stanley Tucci. I thought Tucci played this scene well, where they've had this animosity, this anger towards each other, but then this like begrudging respect, and you see the sadness in Tucci's face. I thought that was a nice moment. I think because the actors, I thought, played that very well. And that's what I liked about the film, is I liked the actors. Like Tucci, that could have been too sentimental or too cringy or too cheesy, but I thought, the way Tucci played that, as well as Delroy, played it as well as he can based on the situation. Again, one of the reasons I like the film is because I like the actors. I like the way they play the characters. Granted, again, 9,000 Fahrenheit, immediately it'd be like on fire. Poof. You'd be the Human Torch. I mean, maybe like they could say it was a 9,000. Like you just say it was something else that was like barely, like their suit could barely deal with it, and then it's like, well, can it not? And then Sally, it was the cannot category. But it's like, well, it's gotta be, think of a bid number, 9,000, like the BFG 9,000. Like we gotta have, in Doom. Like 9,000 is a good high number. Just say 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit, without thinking like, well, no, it don't matter. It's a bid number. It's a bid number, ain't it? Well, we can't say 10,000. It's too much. Say 9,000. That'll be more believable. So yeah, it is ridiculous, but again, the actors play it off well. Christopher Young's score is capable enough. And I feel bad for the characters, so. Yep, and there you go. Here you go. And then there were 3. They definitely take a while for Destiny to start, but thankfully it's enough time for him to find this thing. Well, not yet, I guess. It's like, well, thank God it's taken forever to start Project Destiny. This is accurate to the second, but it seems like they take a few more seconds for all this stuff to start. At least one of them. There we go. Just give them like a few more hours. What difference will it fucking make? And of course he finds it the last minute. It's gotta be the last minute. It's like a bomb. You can't disarm the bomb when there's 2 minutes left. Or 80 seconds left. You gotta disarm the bomb when there's 5 seconds left. Or 2 seconds. 5 seconds or less. That's when you gotta disarm the bomb. So they'll send out the bombs and jettison each one by one to have this kind of ripple effect when they blow them up to restart the core. It's all ridiculous. Well, I mean, the whole fucking premise is ridiculous. But, you know, I like the... Oh, shit. Of course, they think of this now. You push it. I mean, this would be an interesting set of events if Aaron Eckhart was trapped and then Tucci was the one to live. And just how things switch. It's like, would you do things different? And the movie's like, nah, I ain't feeling that. Nope, here you go. It's almost as if like Death from Final Destination said, nope, Aaron Eckhart's gonna live, so let me do this, so you trip and you bang your head and you're on the ground and then it rolls on your leg and all this other stuff. And it's like, okay. A bit wonky. It's like, I know it's not the case, but it's like the director said, okay, I'm going to be really different. Tucci's going to live. Nah, 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 you ain't going to do that. Switch it. Fuel rods from the reactor. Fuel rods from the reactor. Hilary Swank's like, is anyone going to talk to me? Fuel rods from the reactor. Reactor temp alert, of course. She's like, what the hell's going on? Is someone going to talk to me? Is someone going to tell me what the hell's going on? No one's going to tell me squat. Well, come on, Hilary, don't just stand there. Yeah, we got the idea of he's the hero. We got the idea of him a bit more heroic things to do. So, got even those burning his hands. Got to do this thing here and cause him a bit of friction, cause him a bit of pain. Trial by fire. It's like, okay, with the idea of the hero is some stuff to do. How do we do that? Okay, here's the way you do it. Which I appreciate. So it doesn't seem like he's useless and pointless and like he came with the idea and then he's just along for the ride. Hilary Swank, like, what the hell happened? What take my gloves off? I can't jerk off anymore. My hand's a bird. I can't jack anymore. What the hell? They don't have enough energy to get back, so... There she blows right about now. It's one way to do it. Can you imagine is that all of a sudden just one of them decides not to blow? Well, that was all for nothing. Guess you don't have another idea. It's like, I wish you came with this idea before we were half suffocated. Hilary Swank to be like, well, damn, I'm pissed. Why didn't you say this sooner? You're cutting a bit close, ain't you? Wouldn't be in such a rush. Also, you would think they have to be so damn tired. It's been how many days now? Like it said, like, didn't it say like 70 hours or something? Oh, this is the bit I was talking about earlier. That I love this bit where his last line, he's doing the tape recorder and he's like, wait, no one's going to hear this. Right here. It's PG-13, so we didn't get one F-bomb. But I mean, that'd be the way to do it. I think that's a pretty good death scene. Have a funny line, die with a laugh and a smile, and there you go. So that I think that's a pretty good death scene there. I feel bad that he died because he seems like the prick character, but then he did enough things that made it likable, at least to me. Well, it worked. What do you guys celebrate? You guys didn't do squat. What do you guys do except watch? They did all the work. You guys celebrating them as if you did something. You watched and had this on. Hello there. What are you watching? Yeah, I'm watching the game. What are you watching? I'm watching these people. They're trying to restart the Earth. Okay. Well, that kid over there is playing Pawn. I also like they didn't try to force this. They didn't really try to force like a romance between Hilary and Aaron. Like there's that kiss, but it felt like a kiss of celebration, not romantic. So I'm glad they didn't force a love story in there. As much as I like Daylight with Sylvester Stallone, another disaster movie, with a big explosion in the tunnel. Like they try to force this lovey-dovey between Stallone and Amy Brenneman, and I did not buy that at all. Although I do quite like Daylight. I think that is a fun one. It's like, okay, DJ Qualls, calm down, dude. Calm down. It's a giant subway, but please heal himself. Calm down, dude. Calm down. Go back. Soon you'll be in the sequel to Road Trip. Now, granted, would it work that quickly? I don't know. But again, it's like the whole thing is like... Like, did they say, like, Independence Day, like, the idea of those big ships going to the atmosphere alone would destroy the Earth? Like, you see how big those ships are and the way they get into it would cause this kind of, I don't know, shockwave or something that would just wipe out a chunk of the Earth or something. I don't know. I thought I remember reading something like that. Maybe not. No. Maybe I misread it. It was a long time ago when I read that article, so. Flying through the slipstream, so to speak. 16 hours later. So again, that means she was awake for 16 hours going through this and they don't look tired at all. To me, that's the most unrealistic part of the movie. 16 hours she's been flying and she didn't drowse off and sleep and stuff. She's been doing this consistently for 16. What if she, I guess that she had to go to the bathroom? Well, in the pants. Because no one else can drive or fly or how the hell you want to put it. So I'm like 16 hours? Because they make it seem like without that, it would make it seem as if this happened in the span of 10 minutes. It's like, well, there's a big distance, so now it's 4 hours later after that. So that means she's been flying for 20 hours. Who knows how little sleep she got before, other than maybe that little nap when they were passed out. Or she was passed out for a bit. For what? A few minutes? And they're not tired. Like, you would think they'd be at least a little bit tired. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those that I think about. Is like, so what they were, she was driving that thing for 16 hours and another 4 hours. So that's 20 hours of driving. And what kind of caffeine she drinking? I need to have it. The whales is when DJ Qualls don't remember earlier in the film when it went in. That's why I had the up close shot of him at the monitor looking at this. Come on, kid, put it together. You got it. Give it a minute. Come on. Yeah, he's gotta go outside first, I think. Come on, DJ. Or does he run outside to tell him? Come on, DJ. There you go. I mean, even right here with all these ships and the helicopter, I mean, I don't know if some of this is just footage they stole, but it seems like some of they shot for this movie, and even that is a pretty big production there. That's a bit interesting shot because you have the block on the left part of the screen, just to show that they're looking through. I just while looking straight down. Again, a bit of a weird shot because you see black like right here and even a little bit on the bottom. But if it's a helicopter, like they wouldn't be able to look straight down there. That's supposed to be from, I don't know, someone's point of view. I don't know. But they made it. 2 out of 6. 2 out of 6 dentists recommend. Not sleep. And I like this as well, because usually in a film it'd be like, okay, this is when they want to go out on a date. You want to go out on a date together. Instead, it's like, you know what? These people died. They deserve to be known as heroes. So let that information get out. And then lo and behold, you got a hacker. Here you go. These guys are going to get their memory shine throughout for history. Of course, the kung fu thing, which, I mean, probably reference to the Matrix. You know, I know kung fu. But I mean, there's other kung fu films back in the day that would say that. Unsung heroes. There you go. So, and that's nice too, that the those folks, they passed away, but they get to be remembered. And that's nice. Sadly, they passed away, but they won't be forgotten. So again, that's a nice little notation of it. I don't mind this song. Even the way these tiles are done, kind of like Superman the movie. And it's weird. It's like, I remember the last time I saw this, I felt the same way. Like, when I listen to this song and I see the way these trails are done, for some weird reason, it exemplifies, yeah, I had a good time with this. I might have felt that way when in the theater as well. And you know what? I had a good time with it. You know, I know that sounds weird. I don't know how to exemplify that, how to explain that any better, but it's like, you know what? I had a good fun time with that. Maybe see, like, appreciating all the romance drivel route like some of these films and others fall into. They did a little bit extra for the titles to end the for the audience before they leave the theater, before they leave the film. It kind of equates the B movie entertaining quality. Like, this is just meant to for entertainment. It is meant for entertainment purposes. And that's the core. Probably, I don't know, one or two other people that are listening to me right now, but either way, thanks for watching. Take care. I still enjoy this film to this day. I still think it's fun. I still think it's a movie that, no, it's not realistic, but it was entertaining. And I like the characters. I think the special effects for the time, they're fun. I mean, it's not the best special effects stuff. I mean, there's other movies, I think, like Volcano, Independence Day, even scenes in daylight. The special effects are a bit stronger. But I like the premise. I like the pacing of the film. It didn't feel too sluggish or too boring to me. The characters had enough personality that made me want to root for them to see what happens next to them. Felt bad when they died. And overall, I had a fun time. I had a fun time watching this again as well. So thanks once again to Rapid Kirby 3K, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.